The GM, Dracula Presley, GM audience. How y'all doing today?
Oh man, just a another glorious day in the chop. They flushed out leverage again.
I got liquidated.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's trying to call the bottom, and this happens a lot. They're, while it's kind of quiet right now in the market, I imagine we're going to see this over and over until we maybe get that fabled Santa rally. But it's starting to feel like this December is going to be like last December for the market, which is they're gonna have to call it something besides the Santa rally now. I don't know what, but
dude, the Krampus beat down, dude. That's what it is, dude. Krampus is coming in, whipping all the kids. That's us.
Yeah,
I don't know if you heard that toilet sound flush, but
this used to be like it's a war on Christmas in our bags, basically.
Dude.
They don't want you to enjoy the holidays. They want you to be broke. They don't want you to buy the presents for your children. They want you to try to revenge trade 100x somewhere and get flushed out. Really just chalk it mostly up to the Illuminati and the New World Order. But yeah, rough times.
Yeah, man, it's completely a slaughter field out there, dude. It's brutal out here in these crypto markets, but it's not just us. You know what I mean? It's not just crypto. The analyst asks, how do we do it? How do we do it? I simply love the game just because I love you guys so much. I just love coming on here, reading all the positive comments. It brings me so much joy and cheer.
Love for the game. But, it's also like when it's like slow, when it's slow in Sonic news, the show is always, we always got other things we can, talk about when there's not a ton of Sonic news. And, like I said, this time of the year, especially, the comms have already been lowered a good degree from labs, but this time of the year, especially, it's just going to be quiet in general, regardless of what you do compared to, other times in the year. But yeah, that's, we're on episode 141 or 142 now. So, we always find a way.
Yeah, dude, we got 100 plus episodes of experience, so we've got something that is sure to rustle your jimmies or tickle your fancy today. We're gonna be talking a little bit about some specific Sonic stuff. We're gonna talk a little bit about Navi Exchange today, I think. Also, Double Sharp has been sending me cryptic messages, and we're gonna examine some of those as they relate to burns, and then. What else we want? We're going to talk about a little bit about macro conditions too, because I think it is kind of interesting, and maybe do a little comparison, a little show and tell how let's do a little peek in on how other L1s are doing, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
special episode for 150. Maybe we get Stinky back on.
Yeah, Stinky for 150 sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah, that's about how old he is, right?
We'll get like Stinky in 24 and Funeral, some guys that have been on here a bunch of times.
That may be good. I think it'd be a good idea. But let's get this thing started, dude. Let's show the people what they want. Let's get let's look some charts up on the board, huh?
Yeah. I mean, Bitcoin, like I said, barely. We were hanging on for life in the cloud, over to cloud for the this is the weekly chart with the EG that I like to use. Really good at just gathering, the general trend direction. I always point back here was about September, October 2023 was like a super clean, just boom, edge to edge. And, we've been moving up ever since. So it's interesting that, it's just like kind of like perfect support right now, just at the top of the cloud. So the idea is to not have a weekly close inside of the cloud, because if you trade on EG, then that means usually if it enters the cloud, it's going to go from one side to the other. So gives me hope that we're still holding on here. Maybe the bottom.
Could you zoom in a little bit? It looks like we're like right on the top of the cloud, dude, like kissing the rim here.
Yeah, it's let's see, let's do that.
So scary, dude.
Yeah, it's just like right there. So we'll keep watching, of course, but I don't know. I still feel like we're kind of bottomish. You know, Stinky had a question up top, I think before the show started, really about what's going on with like the Japanese Fed rate and everything. And I don't, I'm not entirely sure how to play it. I kind of would probably lean towards we're more priced in at this point. Just because it is a huge deal and people have been preparing for this for a while. The yen trade has been the famous Japanese carry yen trade or whatever, has kind of been blown up since early fall. So they've been trying to manage, things with their rates and everything. I tend to lean towards the markets are already somewhat priced in for it, but you never know. It should be interesting because with the US Fed rates, they caused so much volatility and chaos when things were changing around. And it kind of got to the point though where also everybody got kind of like numb to it. You would still get those flush outs like days before the FOMC, but not necessarily like these great positive results after they say we're going to cut rates. So curious to see what happens. I mean, of course, in terms of markets, raising rates is bearish, and what everyone's anticipating is a slight raise in the Fed's rate over there. So
yeah, I think part of what's so cataclysmic about it for a lot of people, why they feel like the sky is falling, is because it's going to be the highest it's ever been in 30 years. But also, like, it's the highest it's been in 30 years, I'm pretty sure already, because this is the first time they raised in 30 years was in January of this year. So, yeah, it blew up the carry trade. Yeah. That scared a lot of people. Economic uncertainty, we've been saying it all year long, dude. That's the name of the game right now. No one knows what the hell's happening. We're entering a brand new paradigm of markets. We should be used to this. We're in crypto, right? Brand new paradigm of markets. It's where we live. But it's getting a little shaky for even us here, right? So yeah, who really knows how this is gonna impact us directly? I think what it generally means is national economies are getting a lot more scared, right? Well, Japan, at least specifically, is shifting tack. They've been kind of frozen in time for like the last 30 years. So they're trying to modernize and compete in the modern day, maybe out of necessity. So yeah. The real problem here for us is, again, what it really comes down to us is the appetite for risk. And I think the appetite for risk is not really there right now outside of things like AI, which are essentially government subsidized at this point.
Yeah, and I was kind of quiet there for a minute because it made me think about a post I saw this morning. So tell me how this makes you feel being in crypto because of the volatility and the chance for gains and all that. I mean, it's basically that crypto is now underperforming just about everything right now.
I'll tell you one thing. I feel like it makes me look like an asshole when I told my boss to fuck off 5 years ago,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure he's going to send you this this post here, but so I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of like you said. It's just like a new paradigm is forming. It's strange, It's like we have the crypto market not performing in a overall bullish stock market. We have alts maybe dead forever. I don't know at this point. Are alts like with Bitcoin dominance, and you're just kind of watching like only, maybe 3 or 4 tokens in like the top 10 or 15 really like performing or having interest or volume or whatever. So yeah, everything's changing, so we're all going to have to learn how to operate in the new system.
That's right. We're going to have to learn to adapt. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have to learn to adapt to the new system as it's unveiling. I think crypto is very flexible. I mean, it hurts, it bleeds a lot, but I think we can bounce back for sure. I think we're just going to, this is what I love about crypto, guys. And this is why I'm still long-term bullish. It's because it is like the most proletariatly accessible financial technology. You know what I'm saying? somebody somewhere, maybe in this very chat room here, maybe in this very stream, will figure out a new way to generate some value. And you have all the tools here available for you. So I think we'll be good long term. But in the short term, maximum pain.
Well, and I was gonna say, if you want just like a little tiny hopium, take this with a grain of salt. But the Ethereum daily, starting to see a little pattern here, a little hope there. So let's see if this rise continues to play out the way it has been. But yeah, I mean, we're going on, I guess, a couple weeks here. So not a terrible pattern to see there. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, do we want to talk about the news here? I think it was quite fascinating, because I think when the second the news was announced, it dumped like hard Ethereum. But the recent JP Morgan announcement.
Yeah. So I was a little confused by that in terms of like what, I guess I say confused. It's like I kind of saw the headline, but I didn't totally understand it. So they're just putting assets on Ethereum, or what's the deal with that?
So they're launching this thing. I'll pull up the Wall Street Journal article here for you guys. I don't know if you know, I have a
no paywall. No paywall.
It's not paywalled, and this is kind of illegal, but don't tell anybody.
That's a flex, dude.
Dude, they're gonna revoke. I won't be able to post in their forums anymore. I won't be able to give you guys a sweet alpha. No. So JP Morgan Chase is launching My On-Chain Net Yield Fund, Money, a tokenized money market fund on Ethereum blockchain. They're going to seed it with $100 million of their own funds. It's supported by Connexus Digital Assets and requires a $1 million minimum investment and is open to qualified investors. So it's a money market that's going to be running on Ethereum, right? Which is kind of cool. What's interesting to me about this, though, is I've always seen a lot of naysayers. I'm interested in what you think about this, Drek. I've seen always a lot of naysayers say, when the institutions come, when the big banks come, when all these people come to interact with the network, they're not going to necessarily buy your tokens, dude. This doesn't necessarily mean JP Morgan's going to buy a crap load of Ethereum to facilitate this.
Yeah.
What it just means is they're going to use the tech and profit.
Yeah, and I think in this case, it makes sense. Obviously, Ethereum is not the fastest chain or the cheapest chain, but in terms of security, pretty much, viewed as the gold standard. So it would make sense that they were going to park funds somewhere like here first. And yeah, I mean, we always, it was always wait for the institutions. They're going to come buy your bags. And then Ethereum pivoted away back towards improving L1 really fast when they started to realize that companies weren't going to necessarily like use Arbitrum since it has cheaper gas and Ethereum security. They're just going to spin up their own L2. So yeah, I'm surprised that it dumped after this. This seems pretty bullish, but
yeah, it seems pretty bullish. But again, I think it comes back to this idea of, and I think that's something we'll talk about a little bit more in the show if we got time, but this idea of like connecting token value to like actual use value, right? It doesn't necessarily follow, at least at this stage where gas prices are getting very cheap, networks are getting very fast. Volatility says, let the boys at JP know we have a fast chain that nobody uses if they're interested. Well, I think they might be interested in that. And I think that's actually kind of a good point. In the paradigm we're moving to, it might not even necessarily matter how many users you have if you're trying to make these institutional deals. They don't really care that people are there. They'll bring the people. What they want is to know that the chain works, it's fast, it's safe, and they can trust your business practices. So I think that's kind of the angle for L1's going. That's one angle that an L1 can go down in the future. But yeah, I also thought this was an interesting point here. John Donahue, head of global liquidity at JP Morgan, says there's a massive amount of interest from clients around tokenization. This is something we've been hearing a lot echoed in the news from various mouthpieces from various banks and institutions. So guys, the thing is, we're not early anymore, bro. We're not early anymore, actually. We're getting wired in,
Yeah. No, I mean, that's like I said, I think this is just like another reason that you might see a shift to Ethereum L1 away from necessarily, someone like JP Morgan, where you have to have at least $1 million to enter this money market. I don't think they're as concerned about, 50 cents of gas instead of like 1 or 2 cents or whatever. And you're just guaranteed that security of your assets on the chain. So
Yeah, this is interesting here too. Investors can subscribe to the money fund through the bank's Morgan Money portal, a money market investing platform. In exchange, they will receive digital tokens in their crypto wallets. Like most money market funds, money holds baskets of relatively safe short-term debt securities that usually yield more than bank deposits. So it pays interest and accrues dividends daily. But the real thing here that seems really interesting is because it's primarily through USDC and cash. This will allow crypto natives to kind of keep everything on chain. So you can access these debt instruments, this typical money market structure, through an established institution like JP Morgan while keeping it all on blockchain. So I think that's a pretty cool, neat little innovation. It kind of gives us a peek into how these kind of tie-ins will continue to develop going forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's, somebody had like a really good point, or at least, it was an opinion, but it was that they were talking about all these, like, it was a list of just all these integrations and all these partnerships. And it was kind of like, you're still bearish right now. Like, you just need, I think at this point, everybody's kind of eyeing 2026 as a much better year for the market. So, and I think that, it's the account Virtual Bacon, which, some of his stuff's good. Some of it's, clickbaity, whatever. But he had a really good thread about what moved the COVID market was liquidity. You had the stimulus and the rates, the rate cuts and the quantitative easing. And it's the idea of the thread was kind of like, we have all these things on the horizon coming together that are going to make a lot of, like, are going to like break loose a lot of liquidity. A lot of extra liquidity is going to be available in the market. So curious to see how that plays out. I kind of almost tend to agree with it. That we're definitely, in terms of, crypto itself, we're in like a liquidity crunch right now. No doubt about it. There's so many chains, there's so many tokens, there's so many places to, do perps or whatever. And we're definitely in a liquidity crunch. People we just have the same money kind of rotating around right now. So I think if anything's going to bust us out of this situation a little bit, it's going to be once we really are able to reap the rewards from these rate cuts and hopefully what will end up being like decently long-term quantitative easing.
We could see some liquidity dripping into our markets here soon. I sure hope so. And I do kind of think it's likely. I think people are getting a little bit scared, a little bit fatigued at the AI bubble. And that may kind of result in people rotating back into something like crypto where they can still kind of imagine an upside risk or upside advantage. It's getting crowded, dude. Do you really want to buy? What can you even buy right now? UUU. Do you want to buy UUU right now? I don't. You know what I want to buy? S, dude. I want to buy S right now. It's cheap, dude. It's a good time.
No doubt about it. I think we'll pull that up real fast while we're here. S chart, same scenario we've been looking at. Praying for the bottom. We're close to filling the 1010 wick. The question at this point is filling the 1010 wick destiny? We're pretty close. And would that just without a doubt be the bottom? So that's what we're looking at right now. This is the daily. I'll zoom in a little bit, but still, it's just alt L1s especially everybody's just taking a beating at the moment. I think so between the weekly cloud on Bitcoin and everything else going on, I'm hoping that we are bottoming on alts as well.
Yeah, and if we want to talk a little bit about S price, S total supply, right? Double Sharp posted this here. I thought was kind of interesting. Everyone's talking about it. We had 21 mention it in the chat.
Yeah, it's like right a lot of numbers. The show started.
Yeah, this was right before the show started. It said there's a lot of S being burned on Senix Labs today, right? And he gave a Dune dashboard query for it. But let's pull this up here.
Yeah, like how much are we talking about,
dude? I mean, that's got to be at least what, like 300,000 or so, probably more. Yeah, I mean, you can't sell it if it's burned, dude. You know, I think everyone's been kind of wanting to see something like this, right? We want to see the supply being reduced more aggressively. I think this might, I'm speculating here because I don't have anything right in front of me confirming it. I don't know if I just imagined this, reading this, but it has to do with the FEM, like refiguration, right? Where we're burning more, a lot more of the S gathered than just returning it. And I think it's a pretty positive sign if we can keep this up. I mean, it's a lot of S from one day, dude. Not even a whole full day.
Yeah, and analyst says, you know, until we get info on the burns, doesn't matter. Yeah, I mean, hopefully we're about to find out what's going on here. I'm assuming based on the way the numbers are kind of getting tossed around that it's significantly more than what is burned on most days. So, and it's obviously not, you know, that amount being burnt. It's obviously not like, oh, they're burning some of the minted tokens or this or that. So that's probably a good theory. Maybe they are implementing this new FEM structure that Mitch laid out.
I'm a freaking doofus, dude. I read it on the very tweet that it was a quote retweet of this tweet. So, like, this is the tweet where he says, gas subsidies, registry, and transaction fee burning code deployed to Sonic Labs. So this is what he's talking about.
All right. So that is it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I highly recommend you guys follow Double Sharp. He's a lot smarter cookie than us. We're going to get him on the show eventually to talk a little bit more about the technical aspects of what's happening at Labs, because he's really smart on the smart contracts. And he's got some pretty good conversation here about the minting function, the kind of particularities necessary involved in kind of turning that off and the like. But great info, I think. So a little piece of positive news, you know. People get a little negative. Things are happening.
Yeah, Yankee says it seems too much for network activity. It's been burning a lot for the last 8 hours every 10 minutes. So yeah, who knows what the you know, I would say something going on with the new coding, you know, new code deployed, burns rising. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we need more. We need confirmation. All right. We'll keep our eyes open when we get confirmation of what's happening. But at the moment, I can't be displeased. I can't be displeased. More S being burned, you know, less on the market, less to be sold, less to be bought. So they got to pay more for mine. If anyone wants it, which they will. I know they will, because I got a hell of a sales pitch coming up for it here in the coming weeks. Great stocking stuff for S.
Just kind of like to piggyback on some of that Japanese Fed stuff coming up. Yeah, essentially, there's still a lot of calls for rates to continue to get cut. There was unemployment has raised again, which I think they said with this raise, it's now higher than even during like COVID levels. You know, slow job growth. As you know, the US Fed has pivoted to looking at job numbers compared to just, you know, watching inflation numbers alone. So yeah, I mean, hopefully this continues this way. I mean, it's like I said, it can be a double-edged sword, because by, you know, dropping these rates and potentially printing and doing some other stuff, maybe not great for the dollar in the long run, but if it all comes together at the right time, it will definitely be a crazy time for assets across the board.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I think the main concern, look, I'm gonna be a little bit of a Debbie Downer here. I think the main concern here is, like, the rate cut isn't like celebratory. It's not like we beat the fuck out of inflation. We're gonna run it up now, dude. It's more so like inflation's still scary, but now we have an even scarier monster to deal with, which is unemployment. So we got to kind of pivot. We got to kind of put inflation on the back burner, and take care of the labor crisis that, or maybe not crisis, a little dramatic, but the labor problem that is starting to evolve here. So either way, more money in the system generally means better for risk assets, right? But if you're looking for retail to come on chain, if you're looking for retail to come, you need them to have a little cash in their pocket, which there are rumors. Again, I don't know if Bessent, I think it was Bessent said this. I think that's the money guy in the White House, right? Bessent. He said he was floating this again, that Americans might be able to expect a $1,000 to $2,000 stimulus in January. Could be good. that could be the exact kind of thing that we would really like to hear. But we'll see. We'll see, guys. I'm still kind of cautious. I'm still doing my DCAs. I'm not going full port in anything right now.
No, yeah, that's the way at the moment. I think is cautiously optimistic that this is maybe bottomish.
Oh yeah. Oh, I forgot, dude. This reminds me. So the analyst says 1.5 million S burns so far. Not bad for one day, but I don't know what it means. Could be retroactive burns based on something. He's living up to his name. Thank you, analysts. Keep those numbers coming in, dude. I would love to have a price of an actual fee to this. But do we want to talk about, degended bets real quick? We want to set up a market. I was thinking this might be a fun thing for us to do on the show.
Yeah, I mean, let's see what the Bitcoin. So we had made something before the show started saying that basically would Bitcoin dip below 87K during the show, but now 40 minutes in, Bitcoin's at 87.7. So I don't think the odds of it going below 87 before the show end are very good. So I think we'll have to run the experiment next episode. We'll make sure at the top of the episode, just something for if you're in the Telegram, for everyone to have some fun with.
Oh yeah, and I was also thinking we should start one at the end of today's episode, and we'll close it out at the start of tomorrow or Friday's ep. So if you guys have any markets, shill them in chat. Let us know what you want to bet on, and we can arrange, dude. We'll have Drac, my bookie, set up the market.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I think I fell out there for a second, but yeah, we will. We'll definitely make sure that everyone's aware on the next one. We'll set it up early, announce it early, and it's just something to play around with in our Telegram. You can see a few of them right here.
So you want to talk about this real quick? There's not a lot to say because I don't know a lot about it, but I'm excited. Equalizer says a maelstrom is coming, dude. I don't know what that means, but oh my God, that was really loud. They got this awesome graphic. So I'm liking it. Something's coming, dude. Guys are still cooking. Maybe we can get Blake on and grill him. Really grill him on this, dude.
Yeah, I don't think Blake or Equalizer have ever come on the show ever. So that needs to happen.
Change, dude. That has to change. Blake, come here, dude. I'll treat you right, brother. I want to know what the maelstrom is. I want to know what's happening. I want to get in early and I want to make buku. So let's talk, brother. And then next up here, wait. Oh, I was about to close out the StreamYard tab. That would have been really bad. Next up here, I wanted to talk about Navi Day. So Navi is another one I think we've kind of let slide under the radar a little too much here because they're the perp exchange here on X or S, right? The leading perp dex on S. They just distributed 65,000 S in real yield to their community, and they're also doing some buybacks. So guys, give Navi a real gander. I'm thinking about doing maybe my first little tutorial video deep dive on Navi because I kind of like the idea of a perp dex. What do you think, Drake? Have you thought about them very much?
Yeah, I've played around on it before. It's got a lot of like kind of like I guess it's got sort of like a GMX kind of system with their vault and everything. But yeah, pretty smooth, no issues. I think it is like I don't think it's like, I could be wrong here, so someone could correct me, but I believe it's pretty much built ground up. I don't think it's like an orderly fork or like that kind of thing. So yeah, worth checking out if you're doing perps on chain.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what their execution's like, if it's buttery smooth. That's the most important thing to me for a perp dex is I want to be able to get in and out of the transaction immediately. And we're Sonic focused here, right? But I don't want anyone to rip my throat out for saying something positive about another network here. But one of the things I like about Hyperliquid is it is extremely fast in terms of execution. It's because the custom built L1 to support this thing, or alt chain or whatever the fuck L2. One thing, I don't know if you've used them recently, Drac. Have you seen this thing? It's honestly kind of evil. It's like I don't know what you would call it. It like captures like your lizard brain. They have a reverse button, so you can reverse from a long to a short of the same size and elaborate in the same second.
Yeah.
So I know for a fact there are a bunch of degens out there that are on the 1 minute chart and they're just hammering that button anytime it moves against them.
I mean, and they're probably making so much money off fees and everything else on this like flip. You know, like you're down bad on your position and you're like, all right, flip the other way. And you've now, you know, paid your opening fee again. You know, you're back paying funding the other way. So yeah, that was a genius little addition.
Yeah, right on. So, you know, hopefully we see some stuff like that. Kevin says, hype airdrop, get food on the table for me this year. I'm happy for you, bro. I'm glad you're eating. I'm eating beans, dude. I had bean soup last night. It was good as hell, though. That's a little life hack for you. Yeah. Let me see. I had something else here. Well, that was exactly complete. Go ahead, Drake.
Oh, I was gonna say, I know one thing we had pulled up here, which was an interesting conversation, was basically Circle. This was announced yesterday. Circle basically purchased the Axelar team.
Oh yeah,
which was very interesting. Coming at the same time as you know, coming at the same time as like this really large Aave DAO versus Aave Labs debate, where, you know, now that this has happened a couple times in terms of teams being acquired, the idea was kind of like, you know, what happens to the token then? What happens to the project? Is it all just dead? Is a token included? Like, if you buy, let's say you buy a team in a project, should that include the token basically? Because this is a little bit of a, I guess it's a little uncharted. It's kind of like a new thing that's been happening lately, where it's, you know, it's almost like a gaming developer or something. It's like, you know, like EA or whatever. It's like, you know, bigger teams are kind of just scooping up smaller teams. And it like raises the question of like, okay, so what now, you know, especially for a team like Axelar.
Yeah, this is a really wild one because it highlights, I think, a lot of the weaknesses or differences between tokens and stocks, right? Like where in a typical market, you know, I mean, this industry is so crazy because for so long we tried to be like, they're not at all like stocks because then we would get regulated. And now we're like, well, I mean, I kind of miss some of those protections that stocks give me, right? Like it's hard when you watch the Netflix Paramount deal, the Netflix Paramount WB deal, where it's like Paramount's like, fuck it, dude, we'll pay twice the price for your stocks, you know? We'll do double it up and we'll add another 20% cash on top, you know? It's hard to see that. And then you see something like this and it's like, well, I've been a token holder for forever. Now you're just gonna, like, you bought the catalog, you bought the team, you bought the talent, the tech and everything, and I'm left with what? Nothing. I'm left with a souvenir. That's brutal, dude.
Yeah, and I think like what started with the Aave conversation I'm talking about is there's currently there's Aave Labs, who are basically the developers of the Aave products. Then there's the Aave DAO, which is essentially the token holders. And the DAO's goal is to secure as much revenue for the token holders for the value of the token, all that stuff. So there's been like an interesting debate going on. I don't know every single detail off the top of my head. It has something to do with, there was something Aave Labs is doing that's going to generate revenue. And the DAO is saying, whoa, 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 that needs to go to the token holders. So yeah, I mean, it is kind of like this interesting time where, especially now that there are protocols that are actually large enough to generate real revenue. It's not just vaporware like it used to be, where it was like you just had to speculate that, oh, this project will make so much money. This post from White Whale, I liked it, where he said, you know, I personally think it's a little nuts how much we treat tokens like shares of a stock. We obsess over the revenue and earnings, even though projects do not distribute revenue to token holders. He said, we love to cosplay as TradFi, but he said, the reality is many tokens are basically a project's meme. And I thought that hit pretty hard because it was like, when you think about it, it was like, it's kind of true. Because what you're seeing with this Circle Axelar thing is kind of like, it's kind of like they're saying, well, there's the token, but then there's the actual like project and the team. You know, there's like a separation there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I saw I guess it was the founder of Layer Zero. They had when they acquired Stargate, he made a point that like when we acquired Stargate, we had a hard time kind of trying to decide what you do with the token. In their case, they decided we will take on, the responsibilities of, what they were, doing for the token. But it's like, I mean, there's no contract besides a social one, right?
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see how this, continues to play out going forward. I think it would be really bullish for the industry if more projects, shared their revenue somehow, whether it's, the hype system where 90 something percent of any of their revenue buys their token and redistributes to stakers. Or, in the case of Aave, Aave could probably do a lot of damage if there was, significant revenue shared with the token holders, in terms of just, being bullish. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's where things move, really, is, I don't know if you remember this with stocks, but it's always there are people that are really into stock dividends.
Mm-hmm.
And people that are really in the dividends will hunt just for the best dividend opportunity. They don't necessarily, of course, you want the token to go up or the stock to go up, but you could see that in the future where it's more like, okay, the crypto market's maybe not as volatile as it used to be. It's still more volatile than the stock market. This is hypothetical, not saying it is what it is. You might have a situation where something like Aave, the price of the token is much more stable, and it becomes more like how much revenue is shared as a dividend with holders.
Yeah. Dividends get a lot of people hot under the collar, and for good reason, I think, because it's like it's a very logical, standard way to like ensure that you're getting compensated for the risk that you're taking on, right? And that you're participating directly in the success of the company. So I think you're right. I think it would be really good for the industry. I also think I don't know. I think they're DAOs have been taking a beating for a while in terms of like their utility and like their value. I think we're kind of reaching another like inflection point here, which I think could actually be good for DAOs if we did have a more formalized and structured approach to these things that locked in value for participants in a way that kind of made it a little bit more similar to TradFi, but doesn't necessarily need to copy their whole thing.
And I think kind of going back to the original post about this, I think a lot of people are especially up in arms because it's been, it says here it's been a little over 3 years, and so the team has been fully vested. So it kind of just adds to this tension in terms of people being like, you have like you don't have like nearly as much like self-serving interest to maintain this project and maintain the value of the token for the holders.
Yeah.
The team's vested, the team's basically just been purchased. And I don't know all the smaller details, because I'm sure if the project's going to live on, they probably are setting up a DAO, or they already have a DAO, or I don't know what, but still.
Yeah. It's interesting stuff. Something to definitely keep your eyes on in terms of the development in the terms of business in crypto.
Yeah, here's a good post, is that's why it's important to look not only at revenue, but at holders' revenues and earnings and separate those things. Yeah, for sure. And I think that's where we're moving.
Yeah. Now, we're kind of reaching, I think we got a hard stop here soon. So I want to address two more things before we kind of start wrapping things up here. One, we got, according to CoinGecko, Sonic Labs ranks number 7 worldwide with 2.29% of mindshare. We're beating hype, guys. And, I'd love to take all the credit for this. I think Drac and I would love to take all the credit for this, but I think it's really you guys out there that are really moving the needle,
Yeah, I mean, we did have the Kaido program where it wasn't like necessarily super high value posting, but there was definitely a lot of posting. I mean, some people go the extra step and try to make actual like decent content, but yeah, we were talking before the show because it was like, well, Is it? Are we just like only getting the info from our bubble? Good job to the GMSONIC Telegram. Yeah, I credit all of them probably with this. Now, the saying goes, I guess, what is it? All press is good press.
Yeah.
So is the mindshare mostly people shouting and yelling, or is it a mix of shouting and yelling and maybe people outside our bubble actually like talking about it some?
Yeah. I think at least it's a foothold, and I think we can maybe start to shape this into a more positive egregore, if you will. Start getting other people to participate. And that's something I would really like to see, is starting to like do a little bit more outreach, get people in. I'm gonna start doing a little bit more efforts like that in my own special way, I think. But yeah, shout out to us. Okay, 2.29%. Not bad, not bad. Maybe Andre's got something to do with this as well. So let's move on though. Last thing here, Stinky posted this. It's a 7-minute video. I don't think we can watch the whole thing right now. That's your homework at home. Go watch this Hey Anon video. Danny, the man who reinvented DeFi, is here to reinvent prediction markets. Pandora is the product. The ticker is Anon. So I hope you guys are stoked for that, as I am. Pandora, he's competing with Dracula's prediction markets here directly.
No.
But it is pretty cool. It's I'm excited to learn a little bit more about it. And I want to point out here this post here. This is our call to action for today. They posted, by the way, the blockchain for first deployment is, we already got we got one guy saying base. We got 2 Sonic chads in here. I want to see about 10, 20, 30 Sonic chads in there. I want to see Danny getting spammed. I want to see him getting brigaded here. Demand S. Okay.
Yeah, it would make sense. Bring it home here. Give us something to live for.
Yeah, give me something to live for. Give me something to cheer for and dance, dude. But yeah, I mean, I think that's about it for me. Dracula. Yep. What else we got to yap about, huh?
That's really all we got today. So hey, we made it another hour together. Like I said at the top of the show, we got all kinds of other things we talk about, even when the news is slow. So if you enjoyed it today, definitely give us a follow. Hop into GMSONIC Telegram, the most friendly and helpful people you'll ever come across in any crypto community.
Look, I'm starting to think of the GMSONIC Telegram is like a training chamber. You go in there, you're under a lot of pressure, you're fighting a lot of demons and ghosts, and you're getting really strong. You're farming XP in there. I highly recommend it. Toughens your skin up.
Yeah.
Also, it's kind of fun. They make funny jokes sometimes.
Yeah. Spalatzone says it's the most positive Telegram. Come get forged in the flame with your brothers, and we will catch you guys on Friday. Hoping someone says when Owen, when Mitch. Those are both in the works. I hate saying the word soon, but sooner than later, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, those are both in the pipeline. So hopefully we have an announcement on that shortly.
Stay tuned, ladies and gents.
With that, we will catch you guys Friday.
Adios, amigos.
GMSONIC is Corval and Dracula Presley. GM.